And that's where we do something called touching grass. We stop playing the damn game.
There's nothing I can do about it. It's just a stats issue. It's just a damage issue. I can't do.
Are you sure about that, MTech? I can. I'm gonna say there might be a bit of a cap here. Subscribe. Hey guys, MrPokke here, back with another video, and as of today, we're gonna have a very, very special content today, because today is technically the day I beat Wuthering Waves. We have officially completed every single difficulty in Tactical Hologram Calamity. Huge shout out to Rerolling, the faker of Wuthering Waves, for introducing me to the powers of dungeon. Absolutely insane unit. And then for Tower of Adversity, we have also successfully cleared 27 out of 30. Pretty much beat every single floor. Unfortunately, this one, we just simply don't deal enough damage, and I don't really have a diverse pool of units. And this one, we actually maxed out 6 out of 6. Little bit of help from a slightly unreadable yinlin, as well as 11 out of 12 for this half. Couldn't really, it wasn't even close to 180 seconds, so I kind of just moved on. So I would say that I, as of this point of time, almost pretty much beat Wuthering Waves. And we do have a very, very interesting video, or not even video, an absolute cinematic masterpiece by MTech, who gave his review about Wuthering Waves in 1.0, and we're gonna take a look at what we have to see. Right, so without further ado, let's get into today's content.
Hey everyone, MTech here, and this is my final review of Wuthering Waves in 1.0.
Very normal speed. I think this speed is good.
Things that need to be fixed, some things that I've honestly fallen in love with. I truly love it. And I want to give you my overall thoughts on 1.0. Now, there's going to be big changes coming into the game in 1.1, but I want to talk about the game in the current state. The combat, the events, the progression, and all the different things that Wuthering Waves has to offer. Is it even worth your time? Let's get started. So let's talk about the start of the game and overall progression, because this is where a lot of you are going to be in the first few weeks of the game. Now, starting the account, you're going to have a lot of free pulls, even compensation that might have happened after you started playing or before you started playing, whatever you want to call it, you still get it. So at the very launch of the game, we actually had less pulls than you will get as a new player of Wuthering Waves. Starting the game today, you get 50 of these normal pulls, you get 30 of the specialty pulls, there's even a 5-star free selector of any character on the standard banner, and there's even some weapon banner pulls. Hypothetically, if you wanted to reroll in this game, now is the time. I don't know what stuff will go away or if it will ever go away, but if you wanted to start Wuthering Waves today, you could get up and running with a pretty damn good account like day one. You'd be able to push through and do some of the events and get even more pulls, and realistically, in your first couple of days of playing, you can easily get 2, 3, maybe even 4 5-stars to get your account rolling.
Okay,
now,
4 5-stars is a little bit ridiculous. Let's just read her. So TLDR, starting the game right now, I would say yes, it's a much better starting experience starting this game right now compared to Wuthering Waves Day 1. Because let's just be real, Wuthering Waves, they did not have a very good launch. There was a lot of optimization issues. Even for myself, we had optimization issues. We didn't have nearly as many pools. Me personally, I don't reroll, but I can see the appeal of like the casual player base or like people that want to min-max free to place. I can see the appeal, right? Rerolling in Wuthering Waves, technically speaking, now it's easier because you have more pools, so you have a higher chance of getting the unit that you want. And if you don't, then just go next, right? I have no idea how long is the reroll process, but yeah, it is a good point, right? And there's been a lot of fixes for the past 1 month. I have not felt big dips in performance for me. I'm not a mobile player though. I'm not a mobile player. But on PC specifically, yeah, it's been pretty good. Much better than the first day or even the first week, right? So yeah. Great time to start.
If you have the worst luck ever, obviously that could change things, but the way the different banners work, there's a discounted banner that's a guaranteed 5-star. You then can choose a selector banner and you can start working towards that. You get a free selector for any of the characters on this normal banner, and with the currency of Astrite from doing quests and chests, you should be able to pull on the Yinlin banner and get her as well. Unless you lost the 50-50, then that might impact things. What I'm trying to say is you can get a pretty damn good feel for the game and the different characters that are in it day 1. Day 2, Day 3, you're going to have a juiced account. Now, I want to talk about that as well because I think an important thing to note about Wuthering Waves is the characters in this game and even some of the free units are pretty darn cracked. Calcaro is a very good electric unit who pairs well with the new limited unit Yinlin. This combination alone could push you into the endgame and beating most of the bosses in the game. Encore, who I don't personally have on my account, is an insanely good DPS, and when played properly, has crept up into the tiers almost of that of limited characters. She's an insanely good unit. Verena is going to take a very, very long time to be power crept and is overall solid. And as the game has gone on and people have played more, they're realizing that Jian Xin is a super good support and can be used in multiple scenarios. scenarios. Most of the normal characters in the game are fun to play as well. I would say.
Oh no! Oh, so that's where it ended. Ling Yang just got. Bruh, just also that's most of the characters in this game. Okay. For new players, between all 5 standard banners, the 5 standard units, you really only have like one right option. Like you have to get, which is Verena. Like genuinely, Verena. Don't think of Verena as a support. Think of her as a support, sustain, hybrid, DPS, charger, so she's everything. 30 seconds, all type damage, amplification, heals, bell total is great. Her ultimate has built-in parry. Her rotation is pretty fast. It's really everything that you could ask for. You can quite literally run her in every single team in the game, right? So there's really no choice to be made here. Between Encore, Calchero, and Jianxing, I would say Encore is a better choice. Me personally, just because Encore is slightly more flexible. Her DPS by itself, she's not relying on a second slot. Calchero's DPS, if you don't slot him well with like either a liberation buffer like Jianxing, or if you don't slot him with a yinlin, the damage is not that great because the downtime is quite high. Whereas for Encore, she doesn't give a blank, right? You can check out Sweetie Lee's YouTube channel. She just beat every single hologram difficulty 6 using Encore solo. So absolutely ridiculous DPS unit. So between Calchero and Encore, I'll honestly pick Encore myself. Calchero, steady enough. Nothing much to be said here. Jianxing, I would say, has a lot of utility in AoE content. Maybe not for hologram, but for Tower of Adversity, her AoE Saki, it changes everything. So the alternative to Jianxing's Saki is gonna be Yang, right? But if you want a better version and more beefier, cracked out more, that's gonna be Jianxing, right? And in Tower of Adversity, grouping is everything. That's why Jiyan is such a god tier unit in Tower of Adversity, because he has a built-in grouping. Go all in damage and Jiyan will just group everyone together. For Jianxing, she kinda makes your units that can't group deal with the mobs at a much easier pace. An example, this floor right here, I am fully convinced if you do not have Jianxing's Saki, you are gonna take a much longer time, because the way these mobs are positioned is really far apart. And if you don't have the suck, you can't group them all together and deal with them simultaneously. This is why AoE grouping is such a huge buff in Tower of Adversity. So Jianxing is really good. But between all these, by order of priority, I would say Verena above all else. If you lack a DPS, because I mean Jiyan's banner is really gone. So technically speaking, the best DPS in the game right now is technically Encore. So that's that. Then if you are gonna be talking about Tower of Adversity, then Jianxing is gonna be the next option. So yep, okay, moving on.
That Calchero, this guy here, slicing, dicing, he can do these crazy charge attacks, even though he's free or a normal character. They're awesome. I'm telling you right now, I would say that overall, all of the characters that you could possibly get at the start of the game are for the most part valuable, even with some of the 4 stars. The MC,
Ling Yang is just
free
not mentioned,
character everyone gets, is one of the best
on.
characters in the game, which is exceptionally good for free-to-play players. There's 4-star
Have
units like
damage.
Mort, who are absolutely amazing in many teams. There's a free healer who's...
Mortefi is basically like he's like a Ting Yun for anyone that wants to deal heavy damage, because his charge is so quick. Similar to Sanhua. Alright, Sanhua, her charge is very so both Mortefi and Sanhua, they are excellent 4-stars because their rotation is very fast. So you can get out the combos at a much faster pace. So great 4-stars.
Passable. There's Yang, who I think is sleeper OP. Not OP, but she's pretty good. I like her. There's...
She's ridiculous for Elusive Realm. If you have not tried Elusive Realm, there's a trial unit, Yang. Run that shit. You can clear it with your eyes closed. Okay, maybe not eyes closed, but like really good for Elusive Realm.
Ling Yang, who's a piece of trash. You get Yanwu for free. If you ever get Danjin, she's cracked. Sanhua is super good as well. Tauchi has potential. I think that almost everyone in the roster has some value in them work.
They're going a little bit hard on this.
Because there are so many free 5-stars that you can get, realistically, you can start running the game with a full 5-star team within the first few days of playing. So I would say that the start of this game is pretty darn generous, and getting your account up and running is pretty darn generous, and realistically, if you wanted to save all of your pulls for some crazy unit down the road, you would still be able to push and beat all the hardest content with a team of the standard characters. It's pretty awesome. That's all I really wanted to say. As for actual progression of your account, you're going to need to level up your characters. You're going to need to get weapons and level up those weapons. You're going to need to get them echoes, which are different creatures around the map. and you're going to need to level those up, and you're going to need to also get their skills up. And then the final piece of the puzzle is if you got a dupe of a character, you can make them fractionally or marginally better. Let's talk about all this. Leveling up characters and ascending them, pretty easy, pretty chill. You can farm different dungeons to get the materials needed, but for the most part, it's quite easy to get all characters up and running and ascended. You're going to need boss materials to take up their actual levels and their kind of tier, their ascension rank. You're going to need weapon materials if you want to upgrade these things, which are decent to farm. And in the very early game, the one thing I will say is there's multiple ways to get resources for your weapons, as well as for your skill talents to level these up, and you can get them for free without spending any of your daily energy. I would say up and running, you can get 2 or 3 different units pretty much maxed out to level 40, even level 50, even partway into level 60 without really spending a ton of energy, which is kind of crazy. I'm a really big fan of that, the fact that there's so many shops available. I'll just show you that really quickly if you missed this. I don't want to do a whole tips video, but there's a shop here where you can do this weapon crafting, and you can buy materials here. There's this this kind of souvenir store where you open up chests and you can turn them in here. And there's also a chest from, or a shop over here that you can get materials to level and ascend your characters. So in the early game, I would say that ascensions, leveling your weapons, all these things is really easy to do. It's in the early game, absolutely. Everyone up and running. You can probably get 3 or 4 units up and running, looking good, feeling good.
Holy shit, that culture is dead. Man is way more creative. Get some help.
You're going to need to start spending your daily energy or crystal solvents to start leveling.
Respectfully.
Now, again, ascending them and leveling them, I haven't really ran out of resources. It's been very comfy. As for their weapons, it's been relatively comfy. Echoes is another issue altogether. We were going to talk about this one last because this is a whole other topic. But again, with the skills, as long as you're putting some time to kind of pre-farm and get ready, it's relatively easy to max out their skills. Now, Kalkaro, I don't have maxed out, but Yinlin, she's pretty much maxed out. He's pretty much maxed out. I put a lot of effort into a lot of my units. I've got the guaranteed upgrades, and progression in this game has felt fine. I am now at a stage in the account where I do have to start really thinking about my progression. I only have my daily energy, and this is the core mechanic you're going to use to progress and get those big upgrades and things like that.
Hey, Tectone. Man is omnipresent. He's everywhere.
And so I am at a stage already where I'm pretty much just doing the daily logins to progress. I knew this was coming, but I'm not gonna lie, it did happen a little sooner than expected. I thought I'd have a little bit more time exploring and things like that, but it is what it is. I would say that overall progression and leveling up your characters to get ready for the harder activities, the bosses, has been pretty darn smooth, other than Echoes. Now, I want to talk about the...
Okay, before I move on, I will say progression in Wuthering Waves is not exactly like super smooth because in the early game, it's kind of chill, right? Like you develop them very easily. But that's something that shouldn't be new to any game. Like there's no way a game will make development hard. You should quite easily get like your character to level 50, level 60, without much of a difficulty. That being said, you will start to run into problems towards the, I wouldn't say mid games, that towards the end game. When you're reaching the level 70, level 80 mark, that is when things will cost a lot more. Like specifically, for example, this is like 3 gold. The whole Tesla field thing, I think, is really maybe another video, right? UL50 and what to expect, all that kind of stuff. You guys can check out over there. Generally speaking, the drops in this game, it will start to get quite scarce, especially when you need to build 9 different units. So I would say when you reach that point, it's a little bit problematic. But Amdash built a great point, which is as far as the game is concerned, you can use those like level 50, level 60 units to kind of clear the game's content. This will really depend on what do you exactly mean by clearing the game's content. Because let's just be real, right? Chat, let's just be completely real. Wuthering Waves, aside from Tower of Adversity, as well as the hologram fights, there's nothing to do. Exploration, you can quite literally do it with level 1 units. It doesn't matter what kind of units you do. The only thing that you really care about, like level 50, level 60, and there's not endgame content, is kind of like your Pokemon, your echo hunting, right? You go around the world, one-shotting them, and then that's it, right? So for these kind of like game content, I would say it doesn't take any sort of effort. Where if you want to talk about like the endgame stuff, so specifically like your hologram fights, your difficulty 6s, your Tower of Adversity, like the full clears. For hologram, there's no rush anyways, right? This thing doesn't even refresh. So you can honestly just wait until like, I don't know, level 90, learn the boss pattern a little bit, and you can still beat them eventually. There's only no rush. Tower of Adversity, it is not so much about a unit progression. It is more so about how diverse it is, because at the end of the day, you need 9 units. And ain't nobody in God's green earth right now, free to place, they're gonna build 9 units right now, right? So it can get a little bit tight when you reach the stage where you want to clear this quote-unquote endgame content. Every other content in this game you technically don't need anything. It's kind of like raising your Honkai Starbucks unit to farm mobs in the overworld. Oh wait, we don't need to do that anymore because Aircon just one-shot everything. But back in my days, before Aircon, you actually had to like let your units become level 60, level 70. Otherwise, they might actually just die. And I can say, for low spenders or free-to-play or casuals, building 9 different units and getting them all up to like level 70, it's gonna take a while. It is legit gonna take a while. Not to mention the tracers, not to mention it is definitely gonna take a while. Weapons, not too bad because you can actually swap weapons, but tracers and units, you can't, right? You have to build 9 different units. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
Pros and the cons of the Echo system. For those of you that don't know what the Echo system is, the Echoes are your artifacts. These are different monsters in the game, and they will drop an Echo. When you pick up the Echo, it will have a different base stat, as well as these kind of normalized stats. There's usually like attack or HP or whatever it might be. So in the case of my Calcaro, I've got electro damage bonus, and I've got crit rate. Now, there's multiple combinations for these different Echoes. There's different bosses you can fight, or elite mobs that you can fight, and there's a lot of different RNG for these main substats. But on top of this, when you're leveling up the different Echoes, you can see this is level 25. Every 5 levels, you're going to get a substat. This whole economy of this system is flawed. In the very early days, you're going to get quite a few golds, you can get your build up and running, but the amount of experience available to level all these different Echoes is very finite. And in order to get these substats, you're going to need what is called a tuner. The tuners are also a bit of a finite resource. And if you try to build
it is way more finite than experience. Tuners will be way more finite because you only get 30% of it refunded. If you feed Echoes, you get back like 80% of the experience. But to be fair, both are like super finite. Yep.
Too many people, you will run out of this stuff, and it is an absolute pain to get more. So You're going to need to focus on a few different units that are key units in your team, or else you will run out shockingly quickly. Now, I have pretty bad artifacts or Echoes on some of my characters. Some of them are sus. They're terrible. Some of them are a little bit better. They're decent. But I would say, with the experience that I have and that was available in the game, you can get almost 2 teams up and running. They're not going to be perfect, but I'm going to say that you can get 2 teams up and running, or at least, let's say 4 or 5 key characters up and running with the experience available in game. I've got a crit damage piece almost maxed out, energy regen almost maxed out, electro bonus not fully maxed out, but I've got some pretty good pieces on a few units. Some of your healers might be
that unit's not going to do any damage.
Healers are neglected, but they don't need a ton of investment to make anyways, I would say that some of my supports, obviously not built, but there's one saving grace. There's one saving grace in the Echo system, in the weapon system, in the progression of your account that I want to talk about. As you can see here, my guy Gian has got some pretty good pieces.
Our general.
Rate, the arrow damage, we've got more arrow damage, we've got this piece, and even my purple that's relatively
my god,
good. The beauty of this game is, unlike Genshin Impact.
Holy shit, wait, that's a god tier purple roll. 6.9 crit, 21 crit damage attack. This is a little bit wasted, but oh my god, that's a really good purple roll. Holy shit.
Your characters are kind of locked into their builds and you can't share gear in the middle of an Abyss run. In this game, you can. I want to show you this very quickly because I think it is an important point. Even though the Echo system might be a little bit frustrating if you want Echoes for everyone, what you can do is you can get a good set of Echoes that you can share. There are situations where you can get something like the Moonlit set, which is a pretty universal set, and use it on multiple supports. You could use the Attack set on multiple different teammates, and you could hypothetically build generalized sets for everyone, or use like element units such as a Kalcharo or a Yinlin or a Jian and a Jianshin, and you can share their Echoes. And depending, you can also share weapons. So hypothetically, you only need one good weapon for each character, one good weapon set for each element, and you should be good to go. So let me just show you this really quickly so you can fully understand this. The Tower of Adversity is the abyss of this game. And it's one of the end game modes that you're going to be playing in and hopefully progressing through to get yourself some monthly rewards. Now, in the Tower of Adversity, it works a little bit differently than what you might have seen in other games. In the Tower of Adversity, you can go in and you can clear a floor and it will lock in that the characters have been used. They have a stamina system, which I'll show you right now. If I wanted to jump in and I wanted to do this fight, there are certain units that don't have any more stamina. I can't use my Verena anymore because she has no stamina. But that is the only thing that is being locked in these situations. I have only used up stamina for these characters. I haven't stolen or locked in their weapons. What this means is even though my Jianshin was used on these 2 floors, as well as on this side on these floors, I can take all of her arrow Echoes and put them on Jian for the harder levels and still use them. So what you can do is you could just have one good set, put it on a unit of a certain element, have them carry you through a few floors, and then move it on over to someone else, which I think is really awesome. The same thing goes with weapons.
Okay, wait. I will say the overall power of adversity, like the whole way that this thing functions, is really not like super different than like, let's just say use a 3 team from like Genshin Impact Honkai style. Because the stamina system, it really doesn't change much. Because the moment you are locked into one side, like for example, if you're going to be using the same 3 units for the fight, the first, I don't know, because it's like 1, 2, 3, 4, right? So by the time you use your 3 units for the first 3 halves, you wouldn't change into another team just for the last half because it's 4 energy, it's 4 stamina. You are kind of still locked into the exact same team. And let's just say, for example, the 5 stamina one, you can't even use any of the teams you have in team 1 or team 3 to run them into the middle tower for your team 2. Because it's 5 stamina per 5 stamina. So if you really use them for like 1, 2, 3, you can't even take them out and use the first half, right? Because it costs 5 stamina and you only have 4 stamina remaining. So at the end of the day, you're just going to be using the same team. It is basically just 3 different teams and mix and match. That's pretty much it. There's not a lot of customization here.
My Jian as well as my Kalcharo both use the same 5-star Broadblade. And I don't have to worry about building another one because the stats are good enough and that's really cool. So I would say the ecosystem is limited. But what I will say, and this is the biggest argument I need to make about the ecosystem, that I think that isn't fair, people are not looking at the ecosystem and the data bank logically. In my opinion. If you look at Genshin Impact, if you look at Honkai Star Rail, if you look at a lot of the gacha games, getting a 5-star artifact with good main stats on it and good substats is very tough, and you need to use a lot of energy to do that. But in Genshin Impact and some of these other games, it took me like a month to even get my first 5-star artifact because we weren't far enough into the game. In the case of Genshin Impact, I recall there was a quest line where I had to light up these different pillars, and it took me like a month of exploration just to light them up to get my first 5-star.
What the fuck? What quest is this? It took months to do it. What quest is this? I have no idea. Yo, shout out to my executive account managers. Insane.
And I even made a video on that. It's one of my most popular videos because everyone was like, oh my god, a 5-star already? Like, how? In this game, it was not the same. You could farm for golden echoes, 5-star echoes, the best of the best in the game within the first week. And so we have a lot of different choices for these echoes and for these upgrades for our characters. And because of that, I think that people are kind of blinded by the fact that in Genshin Impact, I am telling you right now, if you started an account day 1, or no, if you started an account today, you would not have an onset crit rate piece, electro piece on 1 character, let alone 2 characters, let alone 3 characters, let alone 4 characters. You would not even come close to that in the first weeks, in the first months of the game. And so with Wuthering Waves, we are starved on echo experience because all of our characters have like best in slot main stats. So I think that it is a problem. We don't have enough experience to level up all of our echoes, but because we can go around the map and endlessly farm, we have so many pieces to level up that it's compounding this. You can literally go around the map and you can track down all the different enemies in the game. I can go and say, I want to farm all of these into extinction, and I can track this down, and I can detect it, and I can go and do that. And so if I'm looking for an attack percentage piece on my arrow set, well, I can now farm hundreds and hundreds of these and have 50 different attack percentage pieces to level up. And so what ended up happening is everyone who was building their first few characters, they went and they did that. They rolled the first piece up to 10 and they checked the stats. Wasn't good enough. They rolled the next one up to 10, checked the stats. It wasn't good enough. And what they did is over time, they rapidly lost overall experience on their account. Because even though you can feed your echoes into old ones and you can get a little bit of experience back, they were bit by bit by bit bleeding out their experience instead of just being okay with what they have. So what I'm trying to say here is the ecosystem does need more experience, in my opinion, especially now that we've hit a wall and we don't have as much coming from quests and different things. But if you are smart and you're okay with having not the best artifacts, not the best characters day 1, you can function with average pieces. You will be able to beat the majority of the content with average pieces. And that brings me to my next point, and that is mid to end game progression and the reality of every gacha game ever. So the Tower of Adversity is one of the harder pieces of content for you to complete. I currently have 19 out of the 30 score available in game. Now, I could bang my head at this and try to progress more and get a little bit more currency from the reset. There are some people that have done 12 and 12 here. They've gotten much more progression than me, and there's some people that are whales that have even pushed in and started to beat some of these level 100 challenges. Much like Genshin Impact and...
It's not that hard. Like, I'm just giving it a but it's really not that hard. Okay, I need to call it out.
Honkai Star Rail, in Wuthering Waves, in my opinion, this is not a skill issue. It is a time issue. You don't suck because you can't beat this. You just haven't waited long enough yet. I have the perfect rotations in some of these fights. I have done absolutely as much as I can. I have missed 0 parries. I have done the best that I could have done in the fight, and I got 1 star. And I looked at the timer, and I looked at how much time is left, and in order to get just the 2 stars, I would have had to do like 20 or 30% more damage. And the only way to do that is have godly luck, spend money to get copies so I do more damage, or wait. Those are really the only things you can do. Some people are going to get very lucky on their echoes, and they're going to get crazy crit damage and crit rate, and they're going to beat this content. Some people are going to spend money, and they're going to beat the content before you. And then other people are just going to wait, and they're going to get higher levels, because these are level 90 enemies, and our characters currently, if you started day 1 and you've been progressing, the highest I can get is level 70. And it's going to be like another month until I can get to level 50. But it truly is a waiting game. It is not something that's going to happen day 1. You're not going to beat this in month 1. And so a lot of the progression in the mid game and the end game is not skill focused. And if you think that you can farm echoes and you're going to optimize things, you will run into the experience issue. So I do think that there is some luck involved in your progression in the mid and late game if you want to beat things sooner than other people, because you need to get the absolute best of the best on echoes, or you mathematically will not do enough damage to beat it.
Now, I would say that your echo is probably like less than 20% of whether you can beat like 30 out of 30 Tower of Adversity. I would say like probably 40% is like, 50% is your levels, and then you share the other 50%. Actually, take it back. Like, even if you have like Eidolon, like Resonance Chain like 1 and 2, it's probably not going to change a lot. You really need like banged out like Resonance Chain 6 to kind of clear the level 100 if you don't have like God tier, relics and all that kind of stuff, right? So at level 70, it's probably like a toss-up between the dupes, like Whale, and your levels. I feel like the moment you hit level 80 for units, it will get a lot more digestible. So UL 50, and then you hit level 80 for all your main DPS, it should be a lot more digestible. So I'm not even saying like 30 out of 30 clear, but like if you are still facing issues with clearing like 15 out of 30 or like 18 out of 30, which is like their respective rewards, I think levels just level them. Like echoes, like, okay, let's just be real, right, chat? Let's just be completely real here. Even if M-Dash had a double crit energy regeneration, heavy attack, whatever the fuck, he's still not gonna change anything. That this is, it can be considered incredibly lucky to get a God Piece relic, but in the grand scheme of things, it matters very, very little as to whether he can clear the endgame content. Because the truth of the matter is, it's gonna take a lot more for your level side, your tracer side, and if you're gonna be a whale, your dupes. So echoes don't really matter by like a significant margin unless you have like God tier rolls for every single echo. That's the only other way, right? And let's just be real, even I don't have that, so nobody's gonna have that.
Being said, there are some times and some situations that your skill, as well as a combination of some luck in both your echoes and pulls, that can lead you to success and beating these things a little sooner. I have to say, I think this is a whole other topic, but the weapons in this game are kind of a necessity compared to many of the 4-star options. They are so much better, it's not even funny. We're talking like 50%, well, maybe not 50%, but like 30%, 40% better than the 4-star options, especially in early game when you don't have dupes of the 4 stars. But weapons are essential, and if you get really unlucky with weapons, then you're in a situation where you just do way less damage than everybody else. So
there are a lot of 4-star weapons that are really good, by the way. The Cadenza series, Cadenza variation, they're all really, really good for your supports. Some of the 4-star options, like for DPS, are also really, really good, as long as, especially if they're the crit rate main set. So yeah, look out. I think there are also some 3-star options that are not too bad. Like the rectifier, there's like the one of energy, or like the one with the so some of the weapons are actually not too bad. You don't really need the 5-star
characters employing the weapons is going to play into how soon you can beat this content, and that's why whales win, because they don't have to rely on luck. As a free-to-play player, you absolutely do. That being said, there are some very hard mode bosses in the game that you can beat under-leveled, and some of it does come down to skill. Now, I'm going to shout out another person here. I'm going to shout out Fobmaster. Now, Fobmaster is someone who has spent some money in the game. But if you look at Fobmaster, and if you
spend some money, that's crazy.
Look at some of the runs of him playing and fighting the bosses. He's using a character named Danjin that consumes her own HP. I can show you her in game.
A huge shout out to Rexcellent, the faker of whatever. Danjin is a insane boss killer. The blood's damage is completely out of this world. That being said, you also do need a proper sort of relics, right? Because if your 4-star unit strength, they will be a lot more like weighted towards your relics, your weapons, your tracers, and I guess your support, like your Verena, your all-type damage amplification, and all that kind of stuff. So, yep.
And he is essentially playing on the brink of death the entire time. And so with Danjin, she is a high-risk, high-reward unit that can do a lot of damage because she's consuming her own HP. Even though Fobmaster may have spent money and may have a better weapon than you, the skill absolutely has come into play. The skill of using Danjin and being in a situation where you can get one shot at any moment in time is a skill thing.
Absolutely.
So anyone saying that all the content is time gated or that it's not a skill issue are liars as well, because Fogmaster abusing Danjin to the absolute best of his ability, dodging every single attack and fight, is something that you could learn. Optimize your gameplay and push further than other people. That being said, is it worth it? In the Tower of Adversity, I can get a tiny bit more items, okay? If I was to fight here, I was to do my best, I was to upgrade everything, I was to get lucky, I was to play perfectly, I was to jump in, I could get myself 75 more asteroid. I could get less than half of a pull more than you. Who cares? Literally, who cares? This is why I believe...
It's the exact same argument. Oh my god, I'm just looking like a fucking serial killer, my man. Are you okay? Okay, anyways, yeah. It's the exact same thing for Honkai Starbucks. It's the exact thing for Genshin Impact. Hey, there's legitimately zero reason to rush for endgame, because the rewards for endgame is like almost negligible, especially between like a semi full clear with like a full clear. It means very, very, very little. You're better off just buying a monthly pass and you can literally just get like way more than that for like $5. So like, yeah, objectively speaking.
The game is a time-gated game. Progression is time-gated, and it's not worth banging your head on it and caring. It's not worth grinding echoes every single day to get the perfect thing, because at the end of the day, and all of that effort and hundreds of hours being bored hunting echoes that you can't even level, you're gonna get 75 more asteroid. Just chill. Just relax. And try to have some fun with the game. The next thing I wanted to talk about was weapons.
Wait, what if I have fun by torturing myself and spending 20 hours on hologram fights?
And 4 stars in the game, and the way I view it in this compared to Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail. I would say that in Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, there was a lot of characters that I use 4-star weapons on, and in some cases the 4-star weapons, especially when you're getting multiple copies, are essentially best in slot. And there's some 4-star weapons in the game that are pretty darn good, and I use them, and I will probably continue using them for a very long time. But
holy shit,
Wuthering Waves is a little
different.
bit different, and I view 5 stars as almost a necessity long-term for your account. I'm not saying that you have to pull them, but there's a very obvious gap between the 4-star weapons and the 5-star weapons that are available. It's
mainly
not
for
even
DPS,
close
I would say.
in some cases. And I find it frustrating because I find a lot of the options available in the game very boring. I don't know why they did this, but other than these pieces, a lot of the 4 stars are kind of trash. They're uninspired, they're not that interesting, and they don't open up any sort of playstyles. And I don't know why they did this. There's some that give a little bit of damage, but in a lot of cases, the mechanic is not super cool. They have these mixed scaling pieces that aren't that interesting, and for the most part, I would say that a lot of the 4 stars are just attack percentage plus a bit of damage, attack percentage plus a bit of damage, a bit of defense percentage, or whatever it might be. They don't do anything cool. When we start comparing this to something like Genshin Impact, with the Stringless, with Favonius, with all these different things, like Sacrificial Sword, it's a very stark contrast. In Genshin Impact, I have weapons that can reset my cooldowns, give my team energy, have these massive damage bonuses that it doesn't really happen in this game. So I find a lot of the weapons pretty darn boring. As for the 4-star characters, the nice thing is a lot of them are really fun to play, which we're going to touch on in a second, but I would say that a lot of the 4 stars have what I would consider universal value. Someone like Mort can do damage off field at all times with his ultimate. Super good. Basically, a lot of them have a passive outro skill, which can be used in the future to buff up different units. In the case of Mort, he's going to give you a heavy damage bonus for 14 seconds when he uses his outro skill. So anyone using those in the future will benefit. Sanghua down.
Dude, I do want to, 2 cents. For now, that may be the case. In the future, if we were to ever get a 5-star version, then, because let's be real, it's gonna come, right? It's gonna happen. It's gonna arrive one day or the other. And the moment that it happens, it's like you're probably not gonna be able to run them anymore. And unlike 4-star supports, I'm just gonna be talking about supports, right? Like, think about Yinlin, Pella, right? You can still run them, even though we have Sparkle, we have Robin, but in Wuthering Waves, because team building is based on only 3 units, and you cannot stack outro skills. So the moment you get another unit that does what Mort can do, but like better, you will just never ever use him if there is an alternative. Unless you have something like Verena. So Verena, maybe not too bad because, it is your entire team and it lasts for 30 seconds. So yeah.
Here, she gives a basic attack damage bonus. So a lot of the basic 4 stars in the game can be very good sub-DPS or supporting units, even 2 years down the line when we've got a bunch of units. Now, some of these passives may get power crept. If you look at someone like Yinlin, her passive is giving electro damage and ultimate damage. There is definitely some units that will probably power creep them. There's even units like Verena as a 5-star who have tremendous value being added
ridiculously good.
And that's
It's
fine.
ridiculously good.
That's something to expect from 5-star units. But I would say that a lot of the 4-stars are pretty good and will stand the test of time currently. But the thing I didn't anticipate is in this game, almost everyone is very fun to play. The combat system in this game is exceptional, and I want to talk about why. At first, I didn't realize I was going to enjoy the Forte circuit system as much as I do. The Forte circuit is essentially how to play the characters, and everyone has different things in their kit. So let me give you an example of Mort, and I'll just talk in layman's terms. Doing any sort of attacks is going to fill up that bar above his HP bar, right in the middle of the screen. Now that bar is their forte, and it allows you to do special things or different things. In the case of Mort, it resets his skill. So when using my skill here, typically it would go on cooldown, but now I just have a juiced up, even more powerful one that I was able to use. And I can keep building that skill, doing my attacks, doing my different things, and I now have my ability again. And it's a very fun playstyle. Where in the case of Yang Yang, using my different abilities will allow me to jump in the air and do this kind of slamming arrow attack. And doing my combos, doing my attacks will build the forte gauge for the different units. I want to show you a really cool unit named Calcaro, and I want to show you his because it will paint the picture a little bit better. Now, in the case of Calcaro, when I hit units with my E ability, I'm going to gain charges to my forte skill. And when I use my forte skill with a heavy attack, I do this crazy slam. But this is only scratching the surface of Wuthering Waves combat and why I've fallen in love with it. If we look at Yinlin and I do my skills and I do my attacks, she will build up her forte gauge. And once again, if I use my heavy skill, I will do this massive AoE attack. But the reason why I'm loving the combat so much is actually for animation canceling. So on top of the forte gauge, you can now do things like this, where Yinlin is still on field doing that attack, and I can swap off. And I can show this again with Calcaro. If I land my skills here, I can use his heavy attack, I can swap off, and he will still do that attack. And there's
insane.
Tons
this
of
changes
There's
everything.
Ultimate abilities that can do it. There's
Genshin could never.
There's outro skills that can do it. There are so many ways to combo characters and swap between them and swap back to them that the combat of this game is a lot faster and more engaging than I initially expected. When I first started playing the betas and I looked at their kits and I looked at the combat, I honestly was like, it seems okay. It seems cool. The forte gauge and all this stuff seems fine. But my first impressions in the beta was, I just don't think this is as interesting as Genshin Impact's elemental system. You have to understand that when I played Genshin Impact, I got addicted to that game because the idea that I could use a fire unit and I could apply fire, and then I could hit them with a water unit and vaporize it off or whatever it is, that was so cool to me. I thought it was so interesting.
It's insane.
That I could freeze them and melt them. The fact that I could freeze them with ice and water, all these different things was so cool. When I looked at this game, it just didn't seem as entertaining. But after playing this game more and learning the different combos and the fact that I can summon in, these different beasts and I can swap off and the attacks will still go off and I can do all these ultimates and I can cancel things and flow between these characters, this, I'm not going to say it's better, but thankfully, Wuthering Waves has caught my attention more than initially expected. When I'm fighting bosses and I'm dodging attacks because I'm animation canceling,
he means it's better, guys.
It feels like the Matrix.
He means it's better, pretty much.
I would say that the combat of this game is overall fantastic. And the better you get at it, the more enjoyable it gets. The one thing I will say is some of the combos in the game can feel a little bit try-hard, and I can imagine this game can't be played at the same level on mobile, but then I realized that some of you mobile gamers are absolute beasts, so maybe I'm completely lost. But I really enjoy it on PC. I don't know if everyone feels the same way on mobile, but that's another big issue that we probably need to talk about. Performance of the game. Now, performance for this game has been an issue since day one. They've made some patches that I think have helped a little bit, but I'm still not convinced it's as good as it should be, especially on mobile. On mobile, it is an absolute joke, and I want to talk about that. Now, they used to have 120 FPS in the betas, but they dropped it down to 60 FPS. Now, I have most of my things on ultra high and high and all these different things, but I have to say, in a game with so much exploration, there is a lot of pop-in issues. There's a lot of issues where you can't see enemies, treasure chests, terrain, trees, all these different things, even on a beastly rig, and I find it frustrating. Now, I think it's gotten better since launch, but there was times where you would jump in off this thing, and there'd be an enemy just below you, and you wouldn't be able to see it. There'd be a chest right below you and you couldn't see it. And I understand that this is a lot of load on your system. Like trying to load in all these sectors, you probably shouldn't be able to do that. In an exploration game, you need to be able to say, oh shit, there's a chest up there. Oh, there's a chest down there. Oh, there's a chest behind that tree. I'm going to go get it. Ooh, a piece of candy. Ooh, a boss. Ooh, an enemy. And unfortunately, I don't think that the game is rendering things as efficiently as they should. The exploration is hindered because of this. But on mobile, it's even worse. On mobile, it is absolutely atrocious. Now, I'm not going to pretend that I have a terrible phone or anything like that. I've played this game on mobile when I don't want to go down to my PC and play.
What
and
phone
that
do you
thing
have?
gets so hot. It's a Samsung S22 Ultra. It's a pretty damn good phone.
Is that an insane phone? I'm sorry, I'm an iPhone user. I don't. Is that an is that an E6 phone? Is that an E6S5 phone? Oh, it's really good. 2 years old, so it's not too rare. Also, it's like E2S1, E4, E4 phone. Okay. So it's still basic. It's basically kind of relatable. Okay, it's basically kind of relatable.
Thing is burning my leg. If I put that thing down on my leg, I will actually sear my skin off. The pop-in, the frame rate drop. I can't believe that it's happening on an S22 Ultra. It doesn't seem possible. And I know
maybe
other
try
people
getting
have
E6
better or worse phones than me. People with worse phones than me, I can't even imagine how it's doing. But that thing literally turns into a space heater. Yes, exactly. I don't know why it's getting so hot. I actually did a sponsored stream for Genshin Impact. I'm not sure, I don't want to be hyping up Genshin Impact, but I was playing on an S24 Ultra, and that thing was essentially cool to the touch. Playing an entire like 2.5 hour session on Genshin, it was hardly even heating up. I think that they lost 20, 30, maybe even 40% of their potential player base because the mobile performance has been so bad. And they're working on it. I know they're working on it, but they need to get better. Because even on PC, I'm looking around and I'm like, bro, what is going on here? I played Genshin Impact from day one, and there was almost no situation where when I was exploring, trees and all these different things were popping in. The optimization of Genshin, at least for me, was so much better, it was not even close. And so I think that if you're in this game, open world exploration, you're going to get compared to Genshin. And for me, this game is not performed as good as I want. And that brings us to the next thing, and that is bosses. Okay, I want to talk about this because performance issue is also, in my opinion, servers and the overall performance of this game, I think, is lower than it needs to be. Now, people say, because I'm not playing co-op, that the ping doesn't matter. That number in the corner above me doesn't matter.
I have direct sources from Faker himself. You guys will, I hope this video goes up like after all of the 10/6 runs. Faker himself, Rexton, right? He has proven, he has shown me that ping in this game, it does matter. The reason why people say ping in this game does not matter is because 99.99% of the time, it probably doesn't. Because what are you actually doing in Wuthering Waves? You're killing Pokemon. You're finding chests. You're staring at yinlins and bobas, right? So 99% of the time, the ping does not matter. But for the 1% of the time, when you're actually up against a fucking boss that one-shots you out of fucking nowhere, case in point, 10/6, the ping does matter. So a lot of my parries and a lot of my dodges, it just doesn't even register. The boss doesn't even stagger because of the goddamn 300 ping. I'm quite legit playing on. You know what? And we still beat the damn thing. Your streamer, guys, right? Your streamer. But yeah, ping does matter.
It absolutely does. Or there is something going wrong with the game. Unfortunately, in a lot of the more difficult fights in the game, I think that either the servers are not accepting inputs properly, but I am personally finding dodging as well as countering in this game.
Okay, but man, you're on 97 ping. You have no right to say that shit. There's absolutely zero right for MTash to say, oh, I died because of... There's just no right, all right? There's absolutely no right for him to say this. It is literally green. This is green. I have not seen green in my entire life playing Wuthering Waves. All right, I have not seen. It has been nothing but red. It has been. I have not gone below 250 ping. Like since it's actually crazy.
Quite inconsistent. And when you're fighting some of the hardest bosses in the game that essentially require you to parry them, it's very frustrating. But on top of this, the parry windows are not based on your click. It is based on your animation. And so when you compare the inputs as well as the animations, there are a lot of situations where you are going to die to someone and you're going to go, what? At least that's the way I feel. And I want to just start up this boss just to give you an idea of the speed of these bosses. Okay, the speed and the aggression of some of these bosses, you need to play perfectly. He's coming in here, okay? He's attacking. Like, if you don't dodge, you're dead. He's gonna do this. I gotta counter that. We landed it. I swear I have footage where I pressed my mouse at the exact same time and it just doesn't register.
Okay, Evdesh, I know the reason why, and it's probably not ping. Wuthering Waves parry system is not just you press the button when the yellow circles align. It depends on the angle of your attack as well. So one example that I can kind of show this, right? What I mean by the angle of attack. So if you look at Tanjing, her attack starts from a swipe from left to right. This is from a left to right. Whereas if you were to use Jiyan, his attack is also a left to right, but you can see how it's a lot slower. I'm not sure if you guys can see the difference between Jiyan's left to right and Tanjing's left to right. I'm not sure if you guys can tell. This is Tanjing's base attack. It's a swipe, really quick. Whereas for Jiyan, it's noticeably slower. So the thing is, even though you press it at the same time, the difference in the animation of the attack itself, it matters when you start the parry. Also, the actual parry, it needs to connect with the hit. So sometimes the boss, just like your character, so for example, right, if this is gonna be Ji, and let's just take a look at Cao Qiao. For Cao Qiao's basic, it's a two-step. It's a jab straight. It is not a left to right, it is just a jab straight. Whereas for Ji and Danjing, it's a left-right swipe, right? So different units have different attack animation, and this point, like this point of the weapon right here, it needs to connect with where the boss is coming from. If you were to use, for example, Cao Qiao, because his first point of contact is all the way at the front, right? Whereas for Danji and Jiyan, their first point is not at the front. It's like slightly to the left. It will start from the left, going into the middle. So if the attacks don't connect, it's not gonna register. It will be considered as not registered, even though you press them all at the same time. Which is another reason why I think this game, the parry system is very, very, very well designed. It's very, very well designed because it needs to be like, it needs to hit, not just from just pressing, but the actual attack itself, it needs to connect. So it's probably not ping, especially for M-Dash. For me, yes, I can use ping as an excuse because I am, look at this. I'm quite literally playing on 280 ping, right? But yeah, that's basically a TLDR. Okay, move on.
I don't know if this is an argument for combat.
Okay, if you guys don't understand this, frankly speaking, skill issue, right? Anyways.
Or an argument for performance. But I have played thousands of hours of online games, shooter games, all sorts of different games. I've played competitive games. I've played in Halo 3 tournaments. I understand when something feels off. And for some reason, this game feels off. There feels like there is a latency behind it. And when you are fighting a boss that will one-shot you, and I press the dodge button, and I mean, I dodged really early there, but like, I just feel like sometimes, I mean, again, I'm not dodging properly. Maybe I shouldn't use this footage, because they're bad dodges. But that attack right there, that will one-shot you. And I feel like sometimes I press the dodge button and the game doesn't care. Now, a lot of these boss fights, I would compare to something like a Dark Souls or an Elden Ring. I have to dodge or I'm going to die. There's telegraphed attacks I need to dodge. There's telegraphed attacks that I need to parry. But when I play Dark Souls or I play Elden Ring, I always blame myself. I am okay blaming myself if I miss a dodge. I'm okay with myself if I miss a parry. I'm okay with losing. I might rage, but I'm fine with it. The amount of times that I question the game and I go, that's not fair, in Elden Ring or Genshin is very, very limited. Almost none. Because I feel like when I play those games, I always look at it and say, skill issue. Skill issue. I missed the dodge. I didn't time it right. That's my fault. Always. But in this game, after fighting a boss 10 times, 20 times, 30 times, I then go, hey, that was not me.
Maybe try 500 times. Gotta have a better mental, man. Gotta have a better mental. 30 times? What the fuck? That's like taking a quick piss, you know? It's like digging a booger and just flicking out. It's nothing. Genuinely.
After fighting it and dodging the same attack so many times, I can notice inconsistencies. I can notice that it was not a skill issue. It was a game issue. Insane. It was a server issue. It was a latency issue. It was something. I'm very okay blaming myself, but something just feels off here. But then, I gotta talk about the cameras. Now, I would say in some fights...
Okay, the cameras, I completely agree with M-Dash. The camera in this game is fucked. Sometimes. And it gets really fucking annoying. It gets really fucking annoying. Sometimes, for example, in Tower versus just now, when I was fighting the, I'm not sure if it was a monkey or whatever the fuck, I locked on, okay, oh yeah, Thundering Memphis. Power of Adversity, phase 2, right? 4th stage. 3rd tower, 4th stage. Thundering Memphis. You press the lock on, the camera, it doesn't even lock on. It will just follow where your character is facing. Like, it just straight up does not work. Morning Ikes, the fucking mosquito. It just does not work. Every single time it flies off screen, the camera just resets. It does not work. I swear it does not work.
The camera is pretty good. Like, this is a pretty speedy guy. He's teleporting around, and I would say the tracking is overall fine.
This is considered a good camera tracking. I feel like for Tempest Memphis, the tracking is really good. Sometimes it might be a bit too good because it tracks him all the time, and now you can't see the clone that's gonna coming how you from like fucking 500 meters away, right? So this tracking is really, really good. The mosquito is fucked.
The worst. He's going away, he's coming back, but for the most part, I can tell what is happening in a lot of these situations. However, in some of the fights, I would say that the camera is oppressively bad. Now, there are situations where there are a lot of attacks going on. I'm doing attacks, there's different animations, he's summoning guys, there's a lot of clutter on the screen. I would say that it's okay, But there are some animations in the game where I feel like I can't see what is happening. I can't see the screen. I can't see the enemy anymore. Even in this one, that there's lots of these things, it's okay. But there are some fights that are unacceptable. Let me show you. My gamers, this may be
the morning Ikes. This fight needs to kill itself in-game. This thing is fucked. It's actually fucked. Hey, yo, I'm letting you cook.
First boss fight I have ever experienced. This thing is gonna fly into the air, slam down, move here. The camera will just repeatedly get lost. Now, it might not happen every time, but when you start pairing attacks, there's all these things I gotta dodge, okay? This is okay. But there's going to be times where I'm attacking, I'm in an animation, I'm trying to dodge, he's gonna fly into the air, and it just gets so confusing. It gets so cluttered. And I might not catch it on film here, but this fight is not a battle against the boss. It is a battle against the clock. It is a battle against all these animations, the visual clutter. It is a battle against, what just killed me? I can't see it! Where did it go? You're looking in the air, all right? You're like, where is this thing? It's like a panic. Where is it? I think that the attack patterns are relatively cool, but the game can't keep up. And if you have a frame rate drop in the middle of that because your phone isn't functioning.
Oh my god, I can't. Okay, chat, if you're a mobile gamer and you try to play this ball, I salute you. There's just, holy fuck.
Bad. And this is on PC. When I can whip my camera around, I can track this thing. Look at that, you know, like I can track anything. Tree, look at that tree. I can look at the tree. On mobile, you're gonna be sitting there like, oh my god, oh god. You know the guy? Have you seen this guy? This is gonna be you dealing with the camera. You're gonna be slamming on your phone. And so I really like the combat. I like the Forte skills. I like the game, but I don't feel like it's
Wait, do we
enough.
have that emote? How do we not have this the sweaty speed runner emote? Your mods add that shit. It's a classic. It's a timeless classic.
Like the servers are good enough for the difficulty of some of these fights, for the animations of some of these fights. And there are many times where I'm saying it feels pretty fun, but I'm not 10 out of 10 on this bad boy. Now, obviously, if you don't have this character, it doesn't matter, but I just want to show you some of, like, an example of kind of the clutter. All right, you start using your attacks. There's these people trying to attack me. I use this thing. I go like this. I'm slamming in. There's a lot of, like, animations. I think it's very easy to lose enemies in the background. You start throwing in some of these animations, and it's like, what am I fighting? Who am I fighting? I can't see them. I can't tell if they're attacking me. And the further you get into the game, and the harder the enemies, like, if you get tagged by one hit, it's gonna hurt. It's gonna hurt really bad. And so when you can't see them, if there is too much visual clutter, the harder the game gets, the more clarity matters. And I think that they might need to add some sort of audible noise for some of these attacks, or a bigger flash, or something, but I feel like it's very easy to...
Bigger flash? Wouldn't that make it even more cluttered? Every single time when an attack is about to hit you, you get hit with a fucking flashbang. Oh my god, it's coming! It's coming!
Enemies to lose yourself, to not be able to clearly see how that fight is going on. On top of that, when they start throwing multiple enemies in, your character will be like fighting this one and then jump over here, and it just, there's some times where it's a game that requires precision, or it seems like it wants it, and it's not as precise as it should be. You're one-on-one with a boss, and you just dive away from them, and the targeting, the camera, it just doesn't feel crisp enough for a game where you can essentially get one shot by some of the harder bosses. Now, let's talk about exploration and the overall world. I would say that overall, exploration, pretty darn good. One of the reasons why is overall traversal is wicked. You can do some pretty crazy combos to move around and get on top of things.
Insane.
It is so much faster to get to the top of a mountain, to climb that thing. It's very fluid. It is a 10 out of 10, in my opinion, for overall movement. And if I see it...
A neutral opinion, this game's exploration is like way better than Genshin. I love Genshin, but hey, this one is like, it's not even close. It's legit not even close. It's 5 billion times better than Genshin.
Chest at the top of that mountain over there, I don't care. I'll go get it. In Genshin Impact, I'm like, oh my god! Because it's going to take me 15 minutes to climb up it. This game is not the same. I can look at the top of that thing, the top of that rock, over that ledge, over that ridge, and I'm happy to go get it. There's a lot of different, teleporting points or grappling points. There's a lot of different things where if I'm trying to get all of these different plants off this ridge, in Genshin Impact, you literally, like I don't know if I can do it, but like, you scurry like this. Like, this is climbing in Genshin. The whole time. It is so boring. But if I want to do the same thing in this, it's like, I'm going up there, baby. We're just gonna freaking climb up there really quick. I don't know. There's something about it where my monkey brain, one of the issues is because of that, I have explored a lot. I have finished the exploration in many of the...
Holy shit, wait, actually that reminds me, how is my exploration doing? 94, 99, 82, 100, insane. Insane, excellent, well done. 98, 90, 94. Hey, insane. We do need to work a little bit here. All right, we do need to work a little bit here. Right, I think this can cook up a little bit more. Hey, well done, MrPokke, for exploring this game. Insane. I am an explorer.
And in my opinion, the exploration was completed a lot faster than expected. And I was kind of surprised how quickly many of these areas shot up to 100% or like 95%. And I was like, really? Already? I think that there's definitely, you know, some chests to find. There's some secrets. There's a couple little dungeons that you can find. There's a quest line that can open up like this hidden cave in a waterfall. And like, there are some cool things. But for the most part, it feels a lot like any new region in Genshin Impact that opens up. I'm not thrilled to go in and find the chests for the 500th time. And I honestly think that because Genshin Impact exists and someone like myself played it, the exploration for this game, even if it's good, it's slightly boring because it feels like I'm doing more of the same. It's not a Wuthering Waves issue. It is a burnout issue. So
it's really unfortunate because, okay, let's just be real. What other way can you possibly make exploration be different from Genshin Impact? It's just, you just can't. There's a chest, you click a button, the chest pops up. They add a puzzle here and there. They maybe add like a little like a fighting state. It is what it is. And people have been playing Genshin for like 3.5 years, going to 4 years. It is just kind of like a one-bomb situation. Not gonna lie. That being said though, okay, I don't know how you guys go about exploring, but like I wouldn't go out of my way to like find chests. It's like if it's that, oh wow, a chest, insane. And also because I didn't play Genshin Impact, right? So for me, I think exploration in this game is still rather refreshing. There's no like exploration in Elden Ring, or not that much anyways. And Genshin Impact, I barely even played. I only played recently. So for Wuthering Waves, it doesn't really feel boring for me. And also I have okay, but anyways,
let's player that's never played Genshin, you will actually enjoy the exploration for this game much more. You're gonna have a really good time. There's a chest, there's a thing, there's a piece of candy, and that's really good for you. But if you are a veteran of Genshin, you might find the exploration a little bit boring long term the way I did. I would say that the nice thing is they have some different puzzles in the game that aren't in Genshin, but there's some that are essentially a carbon copy. Tower of
Fuck Genshin puzzles. It doesn't make sense. Okay, anyways.
Fantasy did the exact same thing. When I was playing Tower of Fantasy, I was like, Jesus Christ, it feels like I'm playing Genshin. And it got really boring. But there's some different slider puzzles that you gotta do, and you gotta knock these metallic, like this one right here, you gotta knock this metal box around, and it's like a little puzzle. And there's some that are definitely unique. I just think that I am burnt out on the exploration of things. I am burnt out on shoot the 5 targets to get a chest. Shoot the 5 target dummies to get a chest. Follow this little floating creature to get a chest. It just got really tiring really quickly. So I don't think it's amazing. You might also notice that there are some big gaps where there's no enemies, but then there might be sections where there's a ton of enemies. I think overall the enemy density is fine. And if you are tracking a particular mob, it's pretty easy to find them. It's pretty easy to get to them. It's not too bad. And I could fight that enemy, and if I go further down the road, there might be some more. But I do feel like sometimes there's a bit of a barren feel in this game. And now that I don't have chests, and I don't have some of those mobs from those chests, and I don't have a puzzle to get explored, I do sometimes feel like this thing's a little empty, and I do feel like, well, why would I be there? Why would I keep exploring? And the answer is, you don't. Once you beat it, you beat it. I don't go into that area anymore unless I'm fighting a monster. I don't go here, I don't go there, and I am at a stage where I have beaten the game. There's nothing for me to meaningfully do in between when I don't have energy, or I don't have experience to level the Godworld echoes that I might have found. I can't.
And that's where we do something called touching grass. We stop playing the damn game. Because even if you are a echo hunter, which is basically mint picker or like in this game, you can't even like farm them to, you can't even infinitely farm echoes because you're just gonna reach a cap. One of my mods, Sarah, she literally has 64 tree costs with the right elemental main stat. 64, and she can't level at all because there's no experience. So even for mint picking in echo hunt in this game, there will reach a point where it's just not even gonna be doing anything anymore. There's no experience, there's no tuners, and at that point, you kinda gotta question, is it really the game's problem or is it a you problem? That you have been playing this game for so much to the point where you have so many things where but you can't even do it anymore, right? That is gonna be up to you. I would say Wuthering Waves, I would say it's not a casual game. I don't think it's a casual game because casual players, they will never attempt things like hologram difficulty. They will never do things like infinite main stat farming. Biomechanic itself is meant for players that can spend a little bit more time in this game. If you are a casual, you don't want to learn the boss attack patterns, and you just get one shot, you're probably never gonna clear hologram. If you're a casual and you don't have like 1 hour to go around and get main stats, I'm talking about starting from ground zero, you have like no main stats whatsoever, the only way you can get anything is from Tesla Fields, and then you won't have any stamina to raise your tourism, whatever. So I would say, fundamentally speaking, Wuthering Waves it's not really like a full-on casual game where you can just spend like 5-10 minutes. At least if you want to play this game like efficiently. But at the same time, it is also not a MMORPG where you spend 20 hours a day clearing dungeons, raid bosses, and playing 20. I don't think it's that extreme. Because a lot of the components in this game, it is like a one-time clear. The only thing that's refreshable right now is Tower of Adversity. Everything else is one-time clear. Once you clear it, you're done. Maybe you want to replay with like some sort of like self-imposed challenge. That's gonna be up to you, right? Yeah, I think it's like somewhere between like the absolute casuals and the absolute hardcores. It's like, I feel like somewhere in the middle. Yeah, this is my opinion.
Can't push the Tower of Adversity.
Do you play League? True, the best game in the whole world is not gacha. It's gonna be League. Welcome to Summoner's Rift. Do you guys see this, by the way? 24/7/13. 74,000. 74,000. I am more than my entire team combined. I hard carried that game, motherfuckers. And you could never experience this in Wuthering Waves, in Genshin Impact, or Honkai Starbucks. The feeling of carrying and doing a 1v9. I have more kills than my entire team combined. And pretty much their entire team combined, except for this Jin, who I just one-shot with my ultimate anyways. The feeling of 1v9 makes League of Legends the best game in the whole world. Anyways.
If I don't get better echoes, but I can't get better echoes because I can't level them. I can't push these things much more unless I get dupes of weapons or spend money on characters. So I'm just not going to. And unless I wait until I'm level 50, which is going to be a month from now, I can't progress. And that's fine. So I have functionally beaten the game unless I want to wait. And that's okay. But I've explored what I can explore. I had a decent time doing it. I fought the bosses. I've had a decent time doing it, but I'm not going to bang my head against it for 20 asteroid. And I've looked at like the math. I can't play better and beat it. There's nothing I can do about it. It's just a stats issue. It's just a damage issue. I can't do.
Are you sure about that, M-Judge? I can do. Okay, I'm gonna say there might be a bit of a cap here. There might be a bit of. I feel that maybe you could push a little bit more. Maybe. I feel like, okay, because he's saying like, he says statistically he couldn't beat any further because he's time locked, right? I feel like no one can statistically say they have beaten the game, like, other than the fact that it's raw damage. I feel like even for Faker himself, Rexon, I feel like there will always be, statistically, a way to improve your rotations. Like nailing the parries, not missing a single parry. Because, you know, if you do a parry, you get to deal more toughness bar damage, the vibration health, right? So you technically weakness break the enemy faster, so there's more downtime for you to do. So like, parrying and dodging attacks, they're fundamentally different. So in a sense, you get rewarded for more parries. So, and even if players like Rexton can have a non-perfect run, I'm pretty sure there will be like a few points here and there, right? A few points. Yeah. Yeah, okay, but to be fair, if you don't really care about pushing your skill, then it is what it is.
Do enough yet. And so that's what I knew I was getting myself into as a gacha game. They definitely time gate your progression. But if I could just keep leveling weapons and characters and push these things, I would have had such a great experience because some of these fights are amazing. Knowing that I can't take on difficulty 6 because I just don't have the stats for it and I don't have the skill upgrades, for me is annoying. And it's not worth waiting a month for me to do it. I'm still going to play the game.
Wait, are you quitting? It's not worth waiting a month for me to do it. Wait, are you quitting? No way.
And there's updates coming, but that's a whole other thing that I want to talk about. Was Wuthering Waves ready to launch? Now in the
Oh my god, please don't tell me you quit. Oh my god.
Betas before the game, there were characters that had the wrong elements in some of their passives, and there was a lot of localization issues in the game. Some of the weapons and their descriptions were completely wrong, and I was worried that for launch they wouldn't be fixed. Now, some of them were, many of them were, but there are still localization issues in the game. An example.
I think there was this one part where like they literally mistranslated the points required for Aloy Smile. Like I think you only need 90,000 points for the full rewards, and then in the English version it's 140,000 points, which doesn't fucking make sense. How the fuck do you mistranslate numbers? That's crazy.
Is this weapon literally said the wrong thing in some languages, so people pulled on it and then realized, wait, it doesn't do what it's saying. They're fixing these things, they're sending out some compensation, but I feel like there are major issues. If I buy a weapon, if I go down a path for a weapon, and then I found out it doesn't work, that is crazy to me. And some people were saying they want to like sue Kuro Games because of that. And there's like all this stuff for like consumer protection, but there were localization issues. There are grammar issues. There are dialogue issues. And I have to say, I don't want to go through all the quests and all that stuff, but some of the voice acting in this game is shockingly bad. Some of the voice acting in this game sounds like indie game where they used AI or they used like old employees that are accountants, and they're like, hey, my name's John, today, like it's...
We're getting blacklisted with this one. We're getting blacklisted with this one.
Crazy. Now, there's a bunch of people in chat saying, well, just use a Japanese voice. I'm talking about English because I wanted to play in English. You can't make that argument. Well, just play it in a different language. No, I want to play it in the language that I want to play it in.
I think that's pretty fair.
Ready. Some of the voice actors sound good. Their voice sounds powerful, but the voice act direction, or whatever you want to call it, is bad. Yang Yang might say, Rover, we're gonna fight this boss, and her voice sounds
oh my god, why does that sound shockingly good?
To call it is bad. Yang Yang might say, Rover, we're gonna fight this boss, and her voice,
it sounds shockingly good. Like, I'm not even fucking kidding. It sounds shockingly good.
Sounds nice, but it's like she is in the exact wrong context for the situation. Rover, don't go in there. You might die. Even the MC, the female MC, during one of the big moments with Scar as a voice actor, incredible. He's like, I'm gonna escape. He's all amped up. He's acting it out. It's amazing. And then the MC goes, not so fast. I'm gonna get you. And it's like, what is going on here?
I actually never saw this scene because I played in JP. But anyways, yeah, I actually never saw this scene.
Shocking how bad the VA directing is. And so it's hard to get engaged in the story because it's like, I understand there might be some crazy lore in the game, some crazy thing that makes the story cohesive and amazing. But if it's not right in front of you, as me, who's dumb as a consumer, I just feel like the story's bad. I feel like some of the story was convoluted. I feel like some of the story was just kind of boring. And for me, playing this crazy action game, doing all these crazy attacks, I understand I might not be the target audience because I like this stuff more. But when a voice actor goes, oh no, we might die in this situation, I just get pulled out of it and then I care even less. If something is gripping, if something is engaging, I will stay tuned.
Does it grip? Wait, editors, can we include that part in? Or is it like too much?
I will play God of War, and I will listen to every cutscene and every little tidbit. I will play Destiny, and even though Destiny has had its bad moments, the newest DLC I'm playing, I watched every cutscene, I listened to their voices, I listened to the anger. It just doesn't feel good. I don't feel emotionally involved in the story. And I would say, if I compare it to something like Honkai Star Rail, I'm not going to compare it to Genshin, but Honkai Star Rail, HSR storytelling is one of my favorites so far in all of the gacha games that I've played. HSR voice acting, the overall story, the flow of it has been pretty darn good. And I don't like story. I'm a Skippy McGee. I just want to fight stuff and I just want to get stronger. And I have tuned in for every episode of the HSR story and I've been leaving it in Genshin Impact.
I'm the exact same as Entish. I don't give a flying fuck about the story, but like for Honky Starbucks, even for Honky Starbucks, I didn't give a fuck about like Bellabok. I didn't give a fuck about Shinzo. But like ever since the Penacony arc, my chat forced me. It's like, oh my god, it's so good. So I actually sat down and said, oh my, and to this day, I have no regrets. I'm thankful that my chat told me to sit down and listen. Because yeah, Penacony was it was peak. It was really, really good. And this comes from something that I legit, I can't be asked about a story. Because if I wanted to listen to a good story, I'll just watch a goddamn movie. I'll just watch a goddamn anime, right? I just want to play the game. If I'm playing a game, I want to play the game. I don't want to But Honky Starbucks, damn, Penacony, it was really, really good.
Impact, Paimon, I think, ruins the dialogue. Because every situation is like, you need to go here and fight this Thundering Mephis. And then Paimon goes, hey, you need to fight the Thundering Mephis. And then my character goes, we need to fight the Thundering Mephis. I hate the storytelling of Genshin. I think the storytelling of Genshin irritates me to the point where I hate it the most. I dislike it the most. I am not engaged into the last 5 seconds of the story. I would say that this game, even if the story isn't better, I've enjoyed the telling of it better than Genshin. But
I will say though, unironically, the way Genshin tells its story, it actually works for people like me who want to skip through them. Because I'm like not paying attention at all. Like 95% of the time, I'm just legit playing Genshin. While I'm looking at chat, I'm like talking to chat. It's like a just chatting. So the fact that Paimon repeats everything every other minute is like, oh, right, this is happening. So it draws me back. Oh my god, insane chat. I love Paimon. Paimon is my favorite mascot. Insane.
Both of them are trash in comparison to HSR for me. Overall, I didn't love the story. You can tell that they rewrote it. And there are certain situations where it shines. Fighting Scar, talking to Scar, learning about the black sheep and the shepherd and some of these lore pieces, it feels good. Listening to his maniacal laugh, it's like, yes, I believe this character. But there's many characters in the game I don't believe, I don't care about, and it was hard to get involved. I think that some of the voice acting, like Jian, was pretty solid. Doing the quest, listening to him, pretty solid. And I'm sure in the future, it will get better.
Oh,
but for me, the story is just mid. All of that is just mid. Another thing I wanted to talk about, because it just makes me feel like the game wasn't ready and is not feature complete, is the ecosystem and the shiny. Now, everyone is hyping up, oh my god, there's shiny.
Okay, shiny in this game is completely fucking useless. The shiny system in this game, it just doesn't work because it is not like an actual shiny system. It is not like every single time you farm an echo, there's like a small percentage is shiny. It's legitimately just fixed. Like right now, there's only 2 shinies in this game. There is not bought from shop. The turtle and the golem. That's it. And they always spawn 100% of the time. So it completely takes away the feeling of rarity, the feeling of, oh my god, I got lucky and I got it. It completely takes away. And to make things even worse, and up till this point, it is still not fixed, by the way. It is quite literally not even fixed, even until the time. Shinies in this game, they are considered as purple rarity. They are not even considered as gold echoes. They are considered as purple echoes. This shiny right here, it wrote a godly main stat. It is an energy regeneration on a healer 5-piece. But because this thing is a shiny by nature, so I caught this when it was shiny, it is considered as a purple echo. It is quite literally considered as a purple. You can see the stats are literally lower. The stats are literally okay, but it doesn't. It's fine if you were to change your skin, right? So if you caught this shiny when it was not shiny, so if you change this skin to a shiny Phantom appearance, it is still 6.4 because it is not a shiny when you found it. But if you were to catch a shiny when it's a shiny and it had a god stat, you can't even use it. But it is literally considered as a as a purple echo. Even till now, it's still not fixed, by the way. It is still not fixed. And it's just like a warm. So now I'm gonna have this god tier main stat with the right set, but I just can never use it because it's inherently just a purple echo.
Echoes in the game, and they look differently, and you can hunt them down, but there's like 2 of them. There's literally like 2 of them in the game, and there's a couple that you could buy, but of all these different echoes, you can't actually find any. There's like 2 available around the map, and I, again, feel like they hyped up this thing, all these shiny Pokemon that you can find, it doesn't exist. It was a half-baked feature at best. How many half-baked features are you going to put in the game? You know what I mean? It just feels like they rushed things out, or they tried to kind of hype people up on certain things, but they didn't fully do it. The same thing goes with the Elusive Realm. It's a roguelike. You know, I start comparing it or thinking about HSR and Simulated Universe and all these things, and it's not this feature-complete thing. I feel like it's like they dabbled in it, but they didn't go fully in. And so it's hard to take the game seriously sometimes because I feel like they've got these things that they started to do, and maybe they'll add in the future, but it's like, I feel like they're missing the mark here. I feel like it's not a finished game. Now, let's talk about the mini games. Let's talk about the events. This is a very important thing. When I compare it to Genshin, I compare it to HSR, all of them have mini games that are, you know, kind of filler. The Overdash Club is 30-second parkour maps. It's fast, it's quick, you get some rewards. But it's not very mentally stimulating. It's not that crazy. It's pretty boring. Alloy Smelt is a combat event where you go in, you fight enemies, you try to get some points, you do as much damage as you can, and it's fine, it's good, it's relatively easy, but again, it's like not revolutionary. This one here is just some daily quests you do, you get some rewards. Much like Genshin and HSR, I find the events so boring. I don't find them interesting at all. They are filler, and they're a way for you to get currency and upgrade materials and level up. And if it wasn't so important to progression, I would just skip many of them because it's just boring. Like, they truly are uninteresting. Other people freak out and they're like, Overdash Club was so fun! Alloy Smelt is so fun! And I'm like, I don't know, I'm just smashing buttons and winning, and I just don't care. I am a player that likes to progress and level up all these characters and get all these weapons and take on things like the Tower of Adversity, take on things like these bosses, and push it as far as I can. I'm at a point where I can't push any further, but just getting to this point, extremely engaging for me. Extremely exciting for me. Going into the Tower of Adversity and beating some of these floors for the first time, extremely engaging. This is pretty much all I care about in the game. But the minigames, couldn't care less. But there is one mini game in this that is a permanent feature that they're building on that I think that they nailed. And they need more stuff like the Elusive Realm. Let me show you. Now, the Elusive Realm is something that you can progress in and get more bonuses. But it's kind of a normalized game mode where you use different units and you go in and you've got different challenges to do. This is a mini game, if you want to call it that, or some sort of...
Elusive Realm not being a permanent content that you have like a weekly refresh system like Honkai style is a goddamn crime. There's no way they make such a complex system and they just do it. It's literally a one-time clear, and then once you're done, you're done. I don't even think the shop is refreshable. I don't even think the shop in Elusive Realm is refreshable. Oh, it is refreshable. Is this refreshable? Wait, where am I supposed to even get this? You can still get them. You just play more. Okay. Oh, so if you clear this, okay. So it's a monthly reset. It's not a weekly, it's a monthly reset.
That has some juice to it. I think it's about 30% of what it could or should be, but it is good, and it's kind of pointing towards what they could do. When I look at this game mode and I play this game mode, you can go in for the different difficulties, you can jump in with different characters, and when you jump in with these different characters, there's multiple choices you can make along the route to make yourself stronger. All right, you can bring in different teammates. You can bring in these different summons. There's a bunch of different ways for you to play this game. I love stuff like this because I still have to fight. I still have to dodge. I can still die. I feel like there's a threat value or a threat level, and I get rewards for doing this. The mini games, they don't feel like there's any threat or that I really have to think. All you have to do is play at the very worst possible level and get the max rewards. This one, if you don't make good choices, if you don't dodge, you will die to the final boss in many cases. The final boss will like one-shot you. I don't know, I kind of like that. You can get so OP when you're on level and stuff that it's like easy, but I feel like if you make bad choices and you don't build properly and you don't do it, it's still good. But that's only in the early game because you'll start to realize that as you play this, a lot of the choices that you're making are just very, very superficial and obvious. And in many cases, it all plays out the same. By the end of the run, she's doing crazy AoE and spamming her abilities and everything is dying, and you can't really change that. If you compare it to other roguelike games, I understand that Binding of Isaac or Enter the Gungeon, they're their own game. You can't just build a full-on roguelike in one of these things because it takes a ton of money and time to do it. But there's not a lot of differentiating factors in this game mode. So it's very fun at the start, but I think that it loses value pretty darn quickly. It gets boring really quickly, in my opinion. So I see the potential, but they need to keep going. But I need to compare this to something like HSR and the simulated universe. In HSR, the simulated universe, if you don't know what that is, overall, the simulated universe is something that has had a lot of time to cook, right? They've had a year to cook, but they've got different paths that you can go down that will boost up different characters.
It's still kind of boring after a while. Like, it's still kind of boring. Like, if you play as you for like, I don't know, every single week, you could... No matter how many paths you have, you always have like the same team, and if you're only at one team, you're always gonna use that one path. It's like it's not gonna change a lot. So it's not like insane replayable value. But the upgrades to like SU, like the Divergent Universe, Gold and Gear, those are really, really good. But SU by itself, it's alright. You can't say this is like super replayable.
They've added completely separate like playthroughs or campaigns with a different progression system. They've done this multiple times. There's weekly rewards, there's different artifacts and things that you can get. And I would say that they just keep building on it and it just keeps getting better, and that is good. That's what they need to do in this game for it to succeed long term. HSR, in my opinion, has nailed it. They have made a good system here. They just have to keep going. The same thing goes with the Tower of Adversity and any other combat game modes that they currently have in-game. They need to follow along with what HSR has done, and they need to build on it and keep going and keep growing
from HSR in the new
long-term. There are multiple bosses in the game with these hard modes, but they're not all in the game. Add this boss in and give it a hard mode. Give all the bosses a hard mode version, and that is progress. In something like the Tower of Adversity, they need to change up the floors, but they also need to add more or different things.
Oh yeah, okay. Wait, I don't understand. Okay, the fact that we got to reset, but like it's the exact same buff. Like why? Why is it the exact same buff? Could have made like a little bit of change. Like the exact same buff with the exact same units with the exact same everything. So what's the point of a reset? But
a good example of this is in Genshin, or sorry, Honkai.
Any change, they have so many different
Genshin has never done anything. In HSR, they have their kind of Tower of Adversity with their standard characters. And then they came out with this other thing called Pure Fiction, which is its own game mode. And Pure Fiction is very AoE wave clear based. It's very different. But they just announced, and they're about to drop another one that's more single target kind of boss killing. It is so good that they...
To be completely fair, it has been like 1 year and 2 months. To be completely fair. The first like couple of months in HSR is not a lot of happening. Alright, it's just chilling with the story and that kind of stuff. It's been 1 month in WuWa, so maybe if we're still playing the same game by like the end of 1 year, then that's definitely gonna be an issue. But I'll let them cook a bit more. Keep,
adding on to the game. They're using the same enemies. They might be changing the lineups, but they're adding different mechanics and these different things to do, and I love it. And it's one of the reasons why I keep, hyping up HSR, is because they keep these new game modes, but they're not taking away the old ones. They just keep adding on, and giving us some new experiences. And you might not like Pure Fiction. Maybe you think it's easy or boring or it's not even fun. But having that option and having these things, I think that Wuthering Waves has great combat. But I need different places to use it. I need boss rush modes. I need Tower Adversity with different floors and different mechanics.
I agree.
I want to raid boss one day. I want them to keep going down that road of adding in bosses and mechanics so I can use my characters. But for the most part, if I look at 1.0, if I look at Wuthering Waves, amazing experience for a couple of weeks, a month. Depending on how much you play, you're going to get different mileage. Someone like myself, who's grinding 15 hours a day so I can make content, is going to run out sooner. Some of you guys who watch this review...
Okay, no shit. Okay, to be fair, that 100%. You're definitely running out of content. All right, but yeah.
We'll say, you're an idiot, bro. What are you talking about? But here's the thing that always comes true. I am always right. I was right about Klee being trash in Genshin Impact. I was right about the...
Wait, is Klee trash? Is Klee trash? Yes. Oh my god, but wait, but her music is so cute though. Clearly one of the best soundtracks I've ever heard in Genshin Impact. It's so cute. It fits her so well. The look is better than Klee. Oh my.
Endgame in multiple different games. I was right about the reason people will quit the games. I am going to be right about Wuthering Waves. You just aren't there yet. I tell you.
Yeah, I'm gonna keep it a book. This sounds kind of like me, you know? Sounds like Tech Town. You know, there's only two kinds of people in this world. People that think I'm right, and those who hasn't arrived yet. Yeah, this guy is I'm gonna keep it a book, you know?
It's a good game. It's a fun game. But everyone will get to the point where they run out of things to do. It's just a matter of time. And I got there first because I'm a sweaty grinder. Let's get into the final part of this thing. Do I recommend the game? What would I rate this game? Let's do it. I think that it is worth playing. I think it is a gacha game that you should commit to a little bit for a couple of weeks and see if it's for you. I think it is a generous game overall, and you can get up and running and playing it and getting a bunch of 5 stars to understand, do I even like this thing? I think that anyone who's into open world and exploration should see if they like it. And overall, I would say, if I was to give the game a rating, I would give it a 6.5 or a 7 out of 10. Now, for some people, that's going to sound terrible. It's going to sound like, what? That's really, really low. But if you look at the overall package, I think there's some stuff that is a 10 out of 10, and there's some stuff that is a 2 out of 10. And unfortunately, it's a fine game, but it is not a god-tier AAA title yet. Now, if you watch this video in 1.0, this is not going to be the same as in 2.0 or 3.0. But I would argue Honkai Star Rail was the exact same thing. If you were to ask my opinion of Honkai Star Rail at the launch of the game, I would say that it was a 6.5 or 7 out of 10 at best. It was fine, they had some good systems, maybe it was a 7.5. Maybe it was closing in on an 8 for some people. But I think that there were major issues in HSR. But HSR has innovated, grown, continued to improve, and they have moved on up. And that's why the revenue for the game has continued to be strong, and in some cases past Genshin and many of the other gacha games, because they continue to grow and make it better. Wuthering Waves needs to do the same. Everyone is saying, it's 1.0, they need 1.1. You know, 1.1's not here. 1.1 needs to slap. 1.2 needs to slap. They need to add more quests, more exploration, more things to fight, and maybe it moves its way up into the 8s and even the 9s. Because for me, if I look at the different systems, I'll give you a quick breakdown of where I think they're at.
Okay, wait, before we go, I do want to say, HSR probably don't have that big of a pressure to perform very, very well, like by 1.1 or 1.2. To my understanding, 1.1, it was a patch with like what, Luo Chan Silverwolf, right? 1.1. I think the game was relatively the same-ish. We didn't have Storm Disaster. It was more or less the same game, right? Like 1.0, there weren't any big changes from 1.2 to 1.1, right? It was kind of the same game. It was kind of the same game. 1.1 is only story. Okay. Yep. And like people were waiting 1.2 because like, you know, Kafka, Abobas. And even for 1.2 is like kind of, so like, but for Wuthering Waves, this expectation for 1.1 to perform very, very well, it's a lot higher. Fortunately or unfortunately, they are competing with Zenless Zone Zero. And that game is coming out on the 4th of July. Hell yeah, brother. If this game does not perform up to par, I think it's gonna be a bit rough. But Zenless Zone Zero is gonna come out and, you know, like it or hate it, it's a Hoyo game. People are gonna play the whole game. There's already been people saying like, oh my god, well, I'm just using Wuthering Waves, the Zenless Zone waiting room. It's already been said, right? So there's a lot more pressure for WuWa performed by 1.1. And let's just be real, the launch for 1.0 in WuWa, I'm not gonna say about Genshin, but like for Honkai Starbucks and WuWa, I had a much better time in Honkai Starbucks for 1.0 because there weren't like this many issues. The expectations for WuWa to perform well in 1.1 is definitely.
Overall, the feel of the characters and the Forte system and the combat, I would say is like an 8. If the cameras were better and the overall clutter of combat was better, it would be a 10. But there's things holding it back. If I look at the Forte systems and how these different characters play, this is a 10 out of 10 for me. It is extremely fun. If you look at the different characters like Kalkaro and Yinlin and their animation canceling and the dodging, it is a 10 out of 10. But when I press a dodge and it doesn't work, or the camera is flying around, it reduces that score. It's not Yinlin's fault, trust me, it's not her fault. It's the game's fault. If I look at the quests, the overall story, and what was available here, it was like a 5 out of 10. Voice acting issues, cohesion of the quest, it just didn't. It was fine. It was just like boring. Maybe a 6 out of 10. There were moments like Scar, all right, that I thought, yeah, no, this is great. This is 8 out of 10, 9 out of 10. When I talked to the character here, when I got that lore, when I fought him, when I learned who the character was, I was like, yeah, this is great. But a lot of it, in my opinion, is basic stuff. As for exploration, I think that this is going to be biased, but I think that exploration is maybe, you know, a 7 out of 10. For some people, it's going to be a 10 out of 10. As I said, there are things like this. The fact that I can climb up this thing and just like no worries. And I can ramp off and just do all these crazy things. This is 10 out of 10. But I need more places to do it. I just need more things to do and more puzzles to solve. It's again a problem of it's so good, I ran out of it quicker than I would have liked. I wish there was another island. I wish there was more landmass. So
to be fair, this problem won't really get fixed because you will reach this point eventually as a hardcore, right? Because let's be real, M-Dash is doing this like really like gas on the the foot on gas, right? So even if they made a new map, he's still gonna go all in and just complete everything anyways. And then he's gonna have the same problem. So even if Wuthering Waves to come out with more maps and more places, we're still gonna run the same problem.
So I could do this.
Maybe it will take him a little bit longer. Maybe it will take, I don't know, 1 week longer. But it will just be the same problem. So yeah.
And so it's not that exploration is a 7 out of 10 because it's bad. It's, are you gonna feel fulfilled? Are you gonna feel good? And so if I look at
you
all
will
the
never feel fulfilled.
it's just like
much.
there was like one thing here.
Just like in life, you will never be good enough.
Like this was a hidden domain. They needed more stuff like this. They needed more exploration like this and puzzles for me to care. Now, you might notice there's no music right now. That's because I'm recording a video. There are some bangers in this game, but if I compare the music in this game to Genshin Impact, it was a definite letdown. They needed...
This game's music was hella mid, like respectfully. I don't know. I think this game's music was kind of mid. Neutrally speaking.
Regional music for the different areas to give you an idea of where you were and the vibe. Maybe in this area, a little bit more like a deserty vibe. It's not quite a desert, but some sort of music here. Some sort of like anticipation into this final area with one of the final bosses of 1.0. The music always felt like it wasn't prevalent. It wasn't big. But that's the thing, is there was also days where the music was bugged and you didn't have any music. So like there was issues with even the music being good, but also the music working for many days at the launch, which is frustrating.
It happened.
And with the bosses, a lot of them are like dubsteppy.
Like sure, there's just no music.
Which is cool. But if I go and I fight the big wolf, what is it? Anduin? I can't even remember the boss's name in Genshin, but the big wolf, when that music kicks in, I know I'm fighting the wolf. There are many songs in Genshin, in HSR. If you go look at the HSR bosses, if you go look at what is it? Firefly? Da-da-da-da-da-da-da! Da-da!
That's wildfire, my man. Firefly, ain't no way.
I can't remember the word. Dude, when that song came in, I was like, oh my god, I'm engaged. I couldn't believe it. The Cocolia fight, the music coming in, it was so sick. In this game,
it was.
There was never, in any point, in
they
any situation
Firefly in Bell
where I fought a boss and I was like, oh, that's that boss song. Every fight was just like, okay, sure. Yeah, no, that works. Every fight. Okay. Yeah, I gotta dodge and fight them.
He's right. It's the exact same song. It's literally the exact same song. Yeah, he's right.
Okay, yeah, no, sweet. That's literally what it felt like. It wasn't anything memorable. In my opinion. It just felt like that.
He's right.
Random EDM tracks thrown over combat. You know, when you're exploring, I think that is a big part of it. Is like going through this world and hearing all these different musical tones and whimsy. It wasn't there. There's different areas of video games that give you, maybe it's dread, maybe it's wonder. There was almost no areas in this game where I looked at it and went,
rise up and
oh my god, where am I? The music didn't come in and the visuals came in and make me feel like I was in a place that I cared about. The only place I would say where I maybe had a feeling of that was in this bottom region here overall. When I came into this area with the tree, with this fungus, I was like, okay, do you know what? Finally, I've seen some stuff where I'm like, yes, this is memorable. This is cool. This looks good. There's a few different areas in here, a few different trees that it's like, whoa. But the rest of it is like,
tree, Chad. Oh my god, it's tree.
Mountain number 19. When I see these trees, I'm thinking to myself, okay, this is something cool. This is something new. Everything else is a wash. Everything else is like, yeah, that's fine, that's fine. Thing here, thing here,
the tree changed everything.
This Sea of Flames, I would say, had like a little bit of it because it was this interesting area. But early on exploration doesn't have all this anti.
I like this Sea of Flames though. The buildings were floating, and then there's like a little thing at the top. I think Sea of Flames was good. Sea of Flames was good.
Gravity stuff going on. This area definitely cool, but I can't help but feel in these areas, it's just like a little weird city. It doesn't feel special to me. The way other areas in other games have. I don't know why. It just doesn't hit the same. There are definitely what I would call.
You know what it lacks? It lacks soul. It lacks soul. It's like in Genshin, the moment you reach Liyue, boom, China, instantly. The bustling city with all the fucking chi song, all that kind of stuff. And then boom, Inazuma, Japan, boom. And the soul of the people. I think this game lacks that. It needs a little bit more soul to it.
Set pieces or skyboxes or things that are interesting.
I would say Genshin's world building was even better than that of Honkai Starbucks. I still remember my first time going on top of the fucking Li Yue mountain or whatever the fuck it was. It was a cheese. It was magical.
But if I start comparing this to Destiny that
technically it was good, but like overall in the entirety of like all planets and like everything, I think Genshin is just like, it's just so great. I haven't reached Sumeru and Fontaine in 3 days, but so far it's
fine. This is cool, but nothing for me is breathtaking. And I think that that's an important thing with exploration. If you take all the chests and all these different things out of it, there weren't a lot of times in the game where I jumped around and I was like, I want to just live here. I want to explore here. I want to be here. And that's how I feel. Now, the one thing I'll say, and there's going to be a lot of famous thumbnails of, the devs listened, is the devs listen. Like the devs
that's me, guys.
Listen. And we do
your streamer, ain't no way, crazy.
So any of the things I'm critiquing, they probably know. And in the cases of some of it, they've already fixed.
Your streamer.
And I would say that I have a lot more faith in this dev team than I do of Genshin Impact, who seemingly everything is falling on deaf ears. If I look at HSR and I look at their dev team, I have utmost faith in them. They keep doing banger after banger after banger. Kuro Games can learn from them and do some of the similar stuff, evolving their game.
Crunchy Crazo. Great. Is it great to see the villagers in M-chat?
Their game, growing their game. But I think that they do listen and they compensate players when they've made mistakes. Some mistakes are bigger than others, and I wish that some of the bugs and issues weren't in the game at launch. I feel like they rushed out the game. It wasn't ready yet. But I do think that at least they're going to work towards being a big competitor in this market. So let's talk about that. Did they release too early? Probably. Did they release with enough content? For me, not really. Players that play a little bit less, maybe they're still absolutely enthralled with the game, but I wish they would have had more. Another system.
I will say a nuclear tick. They didn't release too early because, let's be real, if they released later and they actually had to clash with Zenless, between both games, a much more demographic would just give Zenless a try more. Just because it's a Hoyo game, right? I'm not even talking from like a streaming perspective because majority of the casuals, they probably don't even watch Twitch. They probably don't even watch YouTube. They're just gonna be playing games that are like, popular. And Hoyo is the gaming company. It is the gacha gaming company. And the moment if they were to release later or like even like later than Zenless Zero, it's gonna take away so much hype and drive to the point where it might not even be worth it. So it's like, it is a very unfortunate situation that their competitor is Hoyo Games. And unless they wait until next year, but by then it's like, it might be a bit late if they wait until like next year, like really late. But yeah.
System,
it's
another depth, another something to keep me wanting to play long term as someone who grinds the game. I think they could have done a little bit better. Maybe 1.1, 1.2 will fix that, but at launch, I don't think it was quite cooked. I understand that these games take time, but if you're putting out a product and you're charging money for the content and you're charging money for the characters, you have to rate it and grade it based on official release. And I think
actually, technically speaking, you could just not spend money. Technically speaking, you could just not spend money, then just don't get a character because it's technically free. I mean,
Wuthering Waves isn't quite there. I think it is not quite ready to be a fully fledged 10 out of 10 game, but it could be. Destiny 2 was trash at launch, but a decade later is looking fantastic. Genshin Impact at launch had major issues, but they have done a lot of different things to improve the game, and Genshin Impact, I don't care if I like it or not. I know that I'm a hater of Genshin. I cannot say Genshin is not a good game. It's a good game. It's just not for me. It's built for people that are more into story. HSR at launch, good game, but...
quoting Tectone, Genshin Impact, it's a game for children, right? And if you disagree, oh well, then you're just wrong, I'm gonna keep it a buck, Genshin Impact, if you look at things like Paimon, she's like 7-year-old, 5, everything is so cutesy and art, it's just a game for kids. Objectively speaking, verbatim,
Not great. Now, it's a great game. All of these games will evolve, and I really hope that Wuthering Waves can do it. Because they've got the bones. They've got the bones, they've got the skeleton for it, you got a little bit of meat and potatoes, but they have to keep cooking. I just wish they would have kept cooking a little bit longer before they started charging for the product, putting it out there, and all these things. If I'm being honest here, the people that are going to have the worst experience of Wuthering Waves are us, the mega fans that jumped in day one. We have the worst possible version of Wuthering Waves. Other people are going to be jumping in and saying, this is one of the best games I've ever played. Even though we have the worst version possible of this game, I would still recommend people try it. I would still recommend that you give it a go. And for many people, myself included, this is more fun than something like Genshin Impact. It is more engaging
Yeah, I'ma keep it a
combat-wise for
buck.
me than Honkai Star Rail. This is going to hit someone's monkey brain and be one of the best games they've ever played. But I'm not going to pretend like it's perfect and that there aren't many things that need to be ironed out. If you're watching this game 2 years from now, or playing it 2 years from now, hello. I hope you're having fun, because you just jumped into probably a way better game than I'm playing right now. So that's all I really wanted to say. Good game, would recommend, but come on.
Insane. It does seem that the devs are listening. What a banger goddamn video. I think everything that has been said. We actually got through 1 hour and 30 minutes. I think a little bit faster because it was on 1.25 speed, but it's just stuck in a rock in a hard place. At the end of the day, nothing personal. It's just business, right? It's just business, nothing personal. There are competitions with Hoyoverse and the biggest fucking gacha company in the entire world. They're up against Zenless, they're up against Genshin, they're up against all this. Because at the end of the day, one player can only play so many games. Like an average consumer, I'm not talking about like gacha addicts like Fob Master that plays like 20 games, or like the average player base, you can probably only juggle like maybe 2 or 3 games, right? So like they have to like pick. This review is pretty fair, and I can understand where it's coming from for the most part. And 1.1, we'll see what this game has to offer. For me personally, I think this game is fine, because I'm not really like devoting my entire life to make like Wuthering Waves as like my main game. Like I don't really have a main game. Like after this, we're gonna be playing Elden Ring, insane. So for me personally, I think this game is fine where it is. We just hop on, do a couple of stuff, and hop out. Same thing for Honkai Starbucks, same thing for Genshin Impact. Oh shit, I should visit my wife, Chlorine a little bit. Yeah. But that's gonna be that. If you guys have any thoughts in the comments, leave it down below or join the Discord.gg/Pokke's video. We're very active community of Honkai Star and Wuthering Waves or any Genshin Impact and any games you want on daily Twitch machine. That's So that's all I have today. All the best for your yinlin pools, all the best for your Firefly pools, and I'll see you guys next time. Take care.